at last. I must say I'm disappointed in your progress. I imagined you'd be here sooner.
In 1997, development on Crystal Dynamics' Soul Reaver began not as a Legacy of Kain game, but its own standalone IP called Shifter, about a fallen angel who could shift between realms as shown in Soul Reaver, inspired by Paradise Lost. Yeah, that sounds pretty badass. Sometime during the planning stages, Crystal Dynamics got the rights to make Shifter a sequel to Legacy of Kain Blood Omen in 1997. Silicon Knights, upon learning this, attempted to file an injunction to stop all publicity of Soul Reaver. Crystal Dynamics retained the right to publish sequels in court rulings, and Silicon Knights got nothing out of it. Don't worry, there'll be a feud later. You'll hear of it in the Blood Omen 2 video. I mention all this because it caused a huge chunk of the game's content to be cut. Why am I talking about this? Because I need proper window dressing to be able to describe the later portions of the game and why it just suddenly ends. Multiple power-ups, areas, an additional fight with Kain, and even a separate ending were cut. Their ambition was too large for this one game, most of which can be found in beta builds. They're extensively covered on YouTube. You should go check them out when you get a chance. I'm playing both games with the remaster because it's way easier than patching the original two games. Being able to record in widescreen and native 1080p was a factor. Let's start with the story because it is important and integrated into the gameplay, more in Soul Reaver 2 than in Soul Reaver 1. I'll let Raziel explain, who is voiced by Michael Bell.
Kain is deified. The clans tell tales of him. Few know the truth. He was mortal once, as were we all. However, his contempt for humanity drove him to create me and my brethren. I am Raziel, firstborn of his lieutenants.
Wait, hold on, you make Twilight vampires look ugly, what the fuck?
I stood with Kain and my brethren at the dawn of the Empire. I have served him a millennium. Over time, we became less human and more divine. Kain would enter the state of change and emerge with a new gift. Some years after the Master, our evolution would follow. Until I had the honor of surpassing my lord.
That sucks, man. I hope he doesn't have a jealous streak or anything.
Agony.
So Raziel gets thrown into a whirlpool, the Lake of the Dead, and what happened to your jaw? Why is your skin blue?
What is wrong with you? Why are you blue?
Alright, we're starting the 40 SKU count for protagonists with no lower jaw. Afterwards, we meet the Elder God, voiced by the legendary Tony J, whose tentacle-based body makes hentai artists jealous.
I know you, Raziel. You are worthy.
What madness is this? What pitiful form is this that I have come to inhabit? Death would be a release next to this travesty.
You did not survive the abyss, Raziel. I have only spared you from total dissolution. The birth of one of Kain's abominations traps the essence of life. It is this soul that animates the corpse you lived in. And that, Raziel, is the demise of Nosgoth. There is no balance. The souls of the dead remain trapped. I cannot spin them in the wheel of fate. They cannot complete their destinies. Redeem yourself. Or if you prefer, avenge yourself. Settle your dispute with Kain. Destroy him and your brethren. Free their souls and let the wheel of fate churn again. Use your hatred to reave their souls. I can make it possible. Become my Soul Reaver, my angel of death.
Right away, the game introduces you to its mechanics in a way that makes modern games jealous. You get to this warp room. Get used to this room, especially if it's your first playthrough of Soul Reaver. The warp rooms can transport you only to the other warp rooms you've discovered, but thankfully they aren't hidden too well, and they're the best way to get back on the progress you were right before you saved your game and quit. You feed on souls, and this mechanic is super important. You need full health to shift into the material plane, and you lose health slowly and continuously while you are here. This mechanic always confused me because it's not even in Soul Reaver 2. It's fine, I guess. I wish it wasn't here, though.
What are these creatures?
Do you not recognize them? They are the children of your brother, Duma.
That's impossible. These foul, scuttling beasts could not be kin of our high blood. I knew my opponent's weaknesses, having suffered them myself. Physical wounds are fleeting. Vampire's immortal flesh begins to close as soon as it is cleaved. Vampires need only fear those wounds that impale or inflame. Water scorches like acid, and fledglings are devastated by sunlight's touch. I would have to modify my tactics to suit my foes.
You hear that? That's called future-proofing. Using the autoface is heavily recommended as it makes combat much easier. You can also use weapons like spears, pipes, torches. Anything that could impale and burn is heavily recommended. The combat is repetitive and doesn't offer a lot of variety, but it does get better later, I promise.
My God! The sanctuary of the clans reduced to ruin. Beyond these walls lay the pillars of Nosgoth, the seat of Kain's empire. How humble it now appeared, collapsing into the dust of its former magnificence. And yet, I had only just emerged. In the instant between my execution and resurrection, centuries had apparently passed.
You thought the world stopped? Oh, Raziel, you sweet summer vampire.
This world is wrecked with cataclysms. The earth strains to shrug off the pestilence of Kain's parasitic empire. The fate of this world was preordained in an instant by a solitary man. Unwilling to martyr himself to restore Nosgoth's balance, Kain condemned the world to the decay you see.
Yeah, that sucks for Nosgoth, but I'm here to kill vampires, so... Our first stop is the local Nosgoth graveyard, home of Melchiah.
My brother Melchiah was made last, and therefore received the poorest portion of Kain's gift. Although immortal, his soul could not sustain the flesh, which retained much of its previous human frailty. This weakness, it seemed, was passed on to his offspring. Their fragile skins barely contained the underlying decay.
Oh, okay, so zombie vampires then? Wait, aren't vampires already technically zombies? As I'm exploring this graveyard, I'm seeing a lot of block puzzles. Get used to puzzles in general because this game loves its puzzles. The graveyard is a perfect representation of what you'll be seeing going forward, for better or worse. We get to Melchiah, and that is a people suit. That is literally a people suit.
You should have stayed where the master sent you, Raziel. You will find Nosgoth less pleasant than you remember.
What has become of my clan? Answer me, little brother, or I will beat an answer from your horrid lips.
Everyone is afraid, sibling. You awake to a world of fear. These times of change are so unsettling.
Nah, just cataclysms and vampire horrors beyond my comprehension. Bosses, for the most part, are puzzles. In the case of Melchiah, you have to crash these 3 gates on him first before you can actually kill him in a grinder. When we kill him, we get the ability to go through gates, but only in the spectral realm. We return to the sanctuary of the clans and confront Kain, who's voiced by Simon Templeman, the only man who could voice Kain, in my opinion.
Now, as before, you criticize your own work. What have you done with my clan, degenerate? You have no right.
What I have made, I can also destroy, child. Damn you, Kain! You are not God! This act of genocide is unconscionable! conscience? You dare to speak to me of conscience? Only when you have felt the full gravity of choice should you dare question my judgment. Your life's span is a flicker compared to the mass of doubt and regret that I have borne since Mortanius first turned me from the light. To know that the fate of the world hangs dependent on the advisedness of my every deed. Can you even begin to conceive what action you would take in my position?
I would choose integrity, Kain.
Look around you, Raziel. See what has become of our empire. Witness the end of an age. The clans scattered to the corners of Nosgoth. This place has outlasted its usefulness. As have you.
The Soul Reaver, Kain's ancient blade, older than any of us and 1,000 times more deadly. The legends claimed that the blade was possessed and thrived by devouring the souls of its victims. For all our bravado, we knew what it meant when Kain drew the Soul Reaver in anger. It meant you were dead.
It means I'm dead, huh? Sure, just hit Kain 3 times and...
And ever afterward, you and this blade are inextricably bound. Soul Reaver and Reaver of Souls, your destinies are intertwined.
Now I've got your power!
Soul Reaver is the game's best weapon. It can sustain you in the material plane indefinitely. However, you take any hit and the Soul Reaver deactivates, also making it the most fragile weapon. We also meet Ariel, voiced by Anna Gunn. Wait, Anna Gunn? Oh.
My name is Skylar White-Yo.
With the Soul Reaver acquired, we now have to go to Zephon's territory, which is inside an old cathedral. I'll let Raziel explain.
Once a testament to mankind's defiance of Kain's empire, this towering cathedral now stood derelict. The humans who worshipped here, dead for centuries. Its architects conceived this tower as a holy weapon against the vampire menace, a colossal instrument of brass and stone. The cathedral's pipes, once tuned to blast a deadly hymn, now stood silent, and these vacant spaces whistled their impotence.
The spider-like Zephon here are creepy as hell. They're also more maneuverable than the others. They don't go down easy, and other than the Torellum, I'd consider these the harder enemies in the game. The cathedral is a mess of brown and gray vertical shafts. You mostly have to activate these air shafts to boost you upwards to the boss. I'll be honest, I got sick of this place after a while. Oh, hey, he's looked better.
There is no returning for you, Raziel.
Zephon, your visage becomes you. It's an appropriate reflection of your soul.
And you are not his handsome Raziel anymore. His precious firstborn son turned betrayer. You have missed so many changes, little Raziel. Look around you. See how the human's weapon of destruction has become my home. Indeed, my body. A cocoon of brick and granite from which to watch a pupating world.
A crevice in which to cower, only scuttling from the shadows to devour a victim already ensnared in your cowardly trap. But you've made the mistake of leaving me unbound, and it is you who must succumb to my will.
Will, instinct, reflex action. The insect mind finds little difference. I warn you, brother. As my stature has grown, so it is matched by my appetite. Step forward, morsel.
We can now climb specifically textured walls. We can use this to get to new areas, but for now, we have to go to a secret exposed, the Seraphim Tomb.
The ancient tomb of the Seraphim, once impenetrably sealed, now ravaged by Nosgoth's upheavals, its mysteries lay exposed. In the time of Vorador, centuries before Kain was made, the Seraphim warrior priests waged a merciless war against the vampire tribes of Nosgoth. Emboldened by righteousness, they committed unspeakable and indiscriminate acts of violence, massacring fledglings and ancients alike. They decimated entire bloodlines in mere decades. Now their husks lay here, murderers enshrined. As I pulled the stone free, a sigh of sepulchral air escaped the inner chamber. I was not prepared for what lay beyond this threshold. These crypts, defiled caskets of Seraphim saints, bearing my brothers' names and my own. The irony of Kain's blasphemous act rushed in on me with the crushing force of revelation. Were my hands not as bloody as these? Worse, I had spilled the blood of my brothers, these very comrades whose tombs lay ravaged before me.
Yes, Raziel, you were a Seraphan, born of the same force that all but destroyed your race. Before the dawn of the Empire, you were chosen. Kain, Nosgoth's solitary self-declared monarch, plundered this tomb and raised you from these crypts. Breathing his vampiric gift into your defiled corpses, he resurrected you as his favored sons.
That sucks, buddy. This is a Terrellum, the hardest vampire enemy in the game because it can shoot you, and is tanky. You get a kinetic force power-up from him, allowing you to shoot a projectile that allows you to move blocks from a distance and stun enemies. We make our way to the Drowned Abbey, a waterlogged area full of Rahabim that can shoot water projectiles and friggin' swim. Usually the platforming in this game is great, but this area isn't a good representation. Not only can one mistake send you into the water and dissolve your physical form, you have to navigate through the entire area again if you miss a jump towards the end.
Rahab, you have adapted well to your environment, for one so maladjusted.
Do not mock me, Raziel. You of all of us should respect the power bestowed by a limitation overcome.
Ocean man, take me by the hand, lead me to the land.
So now we can swim to various places, and this is where I decide to get the glyphs. Soul Reaver's spells. They all do various specs, but the ones that truly matter are the fire and sunlight glyphs, of which I use fire because it's more magic efficient. I also grabbed the Fire Reaver, which allows you to burn vampires with your projectile, one of the most satisfying things in this game. One of the optional areas you can explore is the human settlement. I have a feeling this had more importance during development, but it's nice to see it here still. After I explore for a while, I feel sufficiently powerful enough to go after Duma's clan, who never expected to...
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition!
The ruined city is simple, mostly. We have to turn on this furnace first before facing Duma, though.
I thank you, brother.
Your thanks are premature, Juma. I have not forgotten whose hands bore me into the abyss.
The centuries in Limbo have honed my strength. Not even Kain is my equal.
You're a bitch. Eat fire and burn. We go into the Oracle's cave, who's revealed to be Mobius the Time Streamer. I mean, this was a thing since Blood Omen, so sorry about that spoiler. We do more bullshit puzzles, which tire me out because of the repetition, but lighting Turlum up like Christmas trees engages my brain. Until I can't. Finally we get to the Chronoplast, which depicts past and future events, and we get to Kain himself. I'm gonna let the Soul Reaver 2 intro play because it's the end of Soul Reaver as well.
At last. I must say I'm disappointed in your progress. I imagined you'd be here sooner. Tell me, did it trouble you to murder your brothers?
Did it trouble you when you ordered me into the abyss?
Eternity is relentless, Raziel. When I first stole into this chamber centuries ago, I did not fathom the true power of knowledge. To know the future, Raziel. To see its paths and streams tracing out into the infinite. As a man, I could never contain such forbidden truths. But each of us is so much more than we once were. Do you not feel with all your soul how we have become like gods? As such, are we not indivisible? As long as a single one of us stands, we are legion. Our futures are predestined. Mobius foretold mine eons ago. We each play out the parts fate has written for us. Free will is an illusion.
I found the tomb of Sarafan, Kain. How could you profane a priest by turning him into a vampire?
How could I not? One must keep his friends close, Raziel, and his enemies even closer. Who better to serve me than those whose passion transcends all notions of good and evil?
The Sarafan were saviors, defending Nazgul from the corruption that we represent. My eyes are open, Kain. I find no nobility in the unlife you rudely forced on my unwilling corpse.
You may have uncovered your past, but you know nothing of it. You think the Sarafan were noble, altruistic? Oh, don't be simple. Their agenda was the same as ours. You nearly had me, Raziel. But this is not where or how it ends. Fate promises more twists before this drama unfolds completely.
Redeemer and Destroyer, Pawn and Messiah. Welcome, time-span soul. Welcome to your destiny.
Kain refused the
Talking about Soul Reaver 2 is way easier than talking about Soul Reaver 1. Its development actually began life on the PS1 and Dreamcast, before Crystal Dynamics noticed how powerful the PS2 was before switching development to it. One of the greatest things to happen to Soul Reaver 2 were the facial animations, which for the time are quite good. During the development of Soul Reaver 2, Blood Omen 2 was being made and contradicted Soul Reaver 2's story. Amy Hennig decided to research time travel and paradoxes, which becomes central to Soul Reaver 2's story and identity, which helped bring Blood Omen 2 into canon, I guess. Soul Reaver 2 was released in October 2001. This game only had 17 months to get done and shipped, and the final product reflects this, I think. No glyph powers, only Reaper enhancements, and no major gameplay changes from Soul Reaver 1 to Soul Reaver 2. If you're wondering why this video has both games, that's why. No bosses either, so the game feels stream of consciousness sometimes, like someone just designed it this way because, you know, the story was the most important thing and that's what they were going for. You also have save points, which is a serious downgrade for this game, even with all the hubs. I'd take the warp rooms any day over this. We meet Mobius, who attempts to manipulate Raziel almost immediately. He's more shrewd than he looks.
Our enemies, leaving them helpless and incapacitated. Strangely, it seems to have the same effect on that peculiar weapon of yours. But you must believe me. I mean you no harm.
You can drop the benevolent facade, Mobius. I know who and what you are. I should kill you where you stand.
Smartest character award goes to Raziel. This vampire stronghold is the worst introduction. Enemies are damage sponges for the most part and are not fun to fight. You're forced to fight a lot in this section of the game. Enemies just take hits then drop after a set amount, it feels like. There is no health meter or any pattern to it, unlike in the first game with enemies.
Away from the influence of Mobius's cursed staff, I could feel the strength of the Soul Reaver slowly returning. If that orb was as debilitating to vampires as it was to the blade, it gave Mobius a powerful advantage over his enemies. I finally understood how Mobius's crusade could decimate the vampires so successfully. If he could immobilize his enemies, they were at his mercy. But why, I wondered, would the staff have any effect on the Reaver? And so the Reaver met its former self, still imprisoned in this corporeal shell. I watched, mesmerized, as the Wraith blade uncoiled itself and snaked down the length of the physical blade. Embracing its twin, its mirror self, the Reaver's long-dormant spirit was now fully aroused, and for the first time, I felt the true presence of this other entity, willful, ravenous, and deranged from thousands of years of imprisonment. The Reaver was now in command, and I, now merely its helpless host, felt my soul being leached to restore the blade. But the Reaver knew better than to destroy its host, and just as I neared the brink of oblivion, the blade released its hold on me. As I recovered, I realized we were now bound together in a fragile alliance. The Reaver no longer merely my symbiotic weapon, but a sentient parasite competing for control. I could now summon the blade at will, regardless of my strength. But once summoned, the blade's ravenous appetite could not be contained.
The Soul Reaver, the game's most powerful weapon, is now downgraded. You can call it at will now, but the sword will damage you if you overstimulate it. What? It's a serious, unnecessary nerf that makes the game's combat that much worse. If there is a thing Soul Reaver 2 does nail, it's the atmosphere despite time travel. Nosgoth feels like a dark, corrupted place, and I feel like the pillar scene you see towards the beginning of the game describes this perfectly.
The pillars of Nosgoth, pristine, whole, and uncorrupted. I had never beheld them in this undefiled state, yet something profound and indelible resonated within me at the sight.
I know you're there, Raziel.
Mobius led me to you, Kain, though I might have guessed you'd meet me here.
And if Mobius told you I was hidden on the underside of hell, would you throw yourself into oblivion to pursue me? Mobius trawls for the ignorant and unwary, hauling his gasping prey from the streams of their destinies. This isn't a chase, Raziel. We are merely passengers on the wheel of destiny, describing a perfect circle to this point. We've been brought here for a reason. I've seen the beginning and the end of our story, however, and the tale is crude and ill-conceived. We must rewrite the ending of it. You and I. This is the sublime moment of our undoing, Raziel. The ineffable fulcrum upon which swings the entirety of our history. This is where all of Nosgoth is betrayed. In this instant, Ariel, the Balance Guardian, is murdered by dark forces bent on overthrowing the Pillars. Her spirit is just now tearing free, lost in the ether, trying to find its way here. We've already seen how she comes to haunt these Pillars.
Bound here by your refusal to die. You are the reason this land becomes diseased. As long as you remain alive, you condemn Nosgoth to an eternity of decay.
Be still, Raziel. See this. As Ariel dies, I am being born to take her place as Balance Guardian. Such is my destiny.
My God.
At the moment of my first cry, Ariel's beloved, the Guardian Nupraptor, finds her corpse. Racked with grief and tormented by suspicions of treachery, Nupraptor plunges into a madness which overflows and infects all of the Guardians who are symbiotically bound, including me. The repercussions of Ariel's assassination were expertly calculated. The entire circle descends into madness, and I am tainted at the moment of my birth, instantly rendered incapable of fulfilling the role destiny has prepared for me.
Shall I show you the same mercy you showed the rest of the circle then? You blithely murdered them to restore their pillars, yet your hand faltered when it came to the final sacrifice. What makes you exempt, Kain? You're merely the last man standing. Why condemn me for simply carrying out what you hadn't the courage to do yourself?
30 years hence, I am presented with a dilemma. Let's call it a two-sided coin. If the coin falls one way, I sacrifice myself and thus restore the pillars. But as the last surviving vampire in Nosgoth, this would mean the annihilation of our species. Mobius made sure of that. If the coin lands on the reverse, I refuse the sacrifice and thus doom the pillars to an eternity of collapse. Either way, the game is rigged.
We agree then that the pillars are crucial and must be restored.
Yes, Raziel. And that's why we've come full circle to this place.
So after all this, you make my case for me. To end this stalemate, you must die so that new Guardians can be born.
Pillars don't belong to them, Raziel. They belong to us.
Your arrogance is boundless, Kain.
There's a third option. A monumental secret hidden in your very presence here. But it's a secret you have to discover for yourself. Unearth your destiny, Raziel. It's all laid out for you here.
You said it yourself, Kain. There are only two sides to your coin.
Apparently so. But suppose you throw a coin enough times. Suppose one day it lands on its edge.
Seeing Michael Bell and Simon Templeman choose scenery playing off of each other almost makes going through all the opaque shit worth it. Almost. Here's the Elder God again and a bunch of story-relevant murals.
As I entered the chamber, I sensed that it had been sealed for hundreds, perhaps thousands of years. And while this room was clearly built when the pillars were erected, I knew that no human hand could have shaped this place, and that perhaps it had never been seen by human eyes. The surrounding murals depicted a winged race, their features so like my own, but beautiful, where mine were grotesque, and angelic, while mine were demonic. I tried to decipher these images. A great war, but with combatants like none I had ever seen. The pillars, raised by this winged race, who thus defeated their adversaries. The winged beings again, writhing in agony, apparently afflicted with the same bloodthirst I had so recently suffered. And throughout the chamber, inscribed everywhere, images of the Reaver itself. Was this what Kain had urged me to discover?
Ah, my ancient benefactor. And I dared to hope we had parted ways forever. Your silence was refreshing, but it lasted. No doubt you have a conveniently inexpressible reason for your presence here.
Do not be insolent, Raziel. I am eternally present here and everywhere, now and always. I am the still center of the turning wheel, the hub of this world's destiny.
But perhaps not so omnipotent as you'd have me believe. Your hold on me appears to be tenuous. I no longer seem to need you. Yet I'm guessing you still need me.
The swamp sucks. Easily the worst area, but not the worst level. It's a loop that can become slightly confusing to navigate. It also has awful swamp muck that debilitates movement. We make our way to the first forge of the game, the Dark Forge, which introduces us to Soul Reaver 2's puzzle solving, which is way more dynamic and closer to being Zelda-like. The first two forges are alright, I guess, but the latter two being straightforward and almost non-existent. Cool. Here's what happens when we get the Reaver. All the Reavers are used for puzzle solving. All of them. They don't upgrade attack. Why? You also gain health.
You're a ragged excuse for a savior.
Vorador.
I see my reputation precedes me.
It does.
All good, I hope? I've been watching you since you emerged from that accursed stronghold. Strange that your arrival coincides with the corruption of the pillars. But I'm wondering, are you the catalyst of these events? Or the answer to them?
I don't know what you mean.
I will speak plainly then. I distrust your origin, stranger. Seeing you crawl from the putrid depths of Mobius's keep makes me question your purpose here. And what should I make of your appearance? Not human, clearly, and more demon than vampire. And the pillars. It is no mere coincidence that your arrival in that clearing heralded the pillars' decay. And so I ask you plainly, are you the instrument of the pillars' destruction or their salvation?
Neither.
Very well. Let us look at the other side of the coin. I have followed your journey and watched as you blithely unlocked secrets that have been sealed and forbidden for thousands of years. The path you have been treading is open to only one being. You don't know what you are, do you?
I have been many things. If you find me ignorant, enlighten me. What am I to make of these secrets I've uncovered, then? The depictions of the winged race, the pillars, and the Reaver.
Fairy tales, boy. The delusions of an ancient culture clinging to hope long after the world had discarded them. Their bloodline trickled away, until only one of the ancients remained, sustained solely by obligation and his unfaltering faith in the old prophecies. But you see, even if you are who you appear to be, it no longer matters. You're simply too late. Janos Audron, the Reaver Guardian, the last of the ancients, and my maker, was murdered by the Seraphan nearly 5 centuries ago. He alone would have the answers you seek, but his secrets died with him. I don't know how you've come even this far without his guidance, or without the Reaver, stolen these 500 years ago by the Seraphan. I'm afraid, my friend, that you and all of us are out of luck.
So after all that, we have to go back to the fortress to open this door that takes us to the Light Forge, the hardest and largest in the game. Let me put it to you this way. It sucks. It sucks hard. The Light Forge teaches you that the forges are the game's levels, and you have to play with this constantly in mind. It doesn't help the Light Forge is incredibly obtuse the first time you play it, but eventually I figure it out, and I get the Light Reaver, and I open the door and encounter Kain again, where Raziel fights his destiny, or so it seems.
Your fatalism is tiresome, Kain.
And profoundly ingrained, Raziel. You must understand, our presence here doesn't alter history. You and I meet here because we are compelled to. We have always met here. History is irredeemable. Drop a stone into a rushing river, the current simply courses around it and flows on as if the obstruction were never there. You and I are pebbles, Raziel, and have even less hope of disrupting the time stream. The continuum of history is simply too strong, too resilient. Except, then how do we explain William here? The beloved boy king turned tyrant. In my youth, I witnessed William's rise to power and his transformation into the nemesis who laid waste to Nosgoth.
Keep your distance, Kain.
Years later, I stumble upon a chance to journey back in history, unaware that the entire affair has been carefully orchestrated by Mobius. In my wisdom, I seize this opportunity to murder the young king before he can ravage Nosgoth, and thereby provide the catalyst Mobius needs to ignite a genocidal war against our race.
I warn you, no further.
This one reckless act unravels the skein of history. The nemesis never becomes the nemesis. William dies a martyred saint. I, the vampire assassin, become the author of my own species' extinction, and Mobius profits from it all. I destroyed a tyrant only to create one far worse. But how can it be so? How, if history is immutable? The answer is here in this room, Raziel. Mobius propelled William and me together, but ensured first that we were both armed with the Soul Reaver. The Reaver is the key. Two incarnations of the blade meet in time and space. A paradox is created, a temporal distortion powerful enough to derail history.
Is this your sorcery?
Not mine, Raziel. Yours. You have nothing to fear from me, Raziel. You hold all the cards. You have the power to reshape our inevitable futures. Poor William. History abhors a paradox, Raziel. Even now, the time stream strains to divert itself, finding its old course blocked by your refusal to destroy me. The future is reshuffling itself to accommodate your monumental decision.
Keep that reshuffling in mind because it comes plot relevant moving forward. Oh yeah, we got Mobius by the balls. Let's not let him send us to another time or anything. Oh, damn it. Buckle up because we got sent 100 years into the future where demons infest the land. Demons that inflict massive damage on you and can follow you into the spectral realm. Oh, that's fun. The Soul Reaver wrecks them, thankfully. At least they make the combat more interesting, if not varied at minimum. We get to the Elder God again, who is pissed and strung out through the chamber now.
Failed assassin. You had Kain at your mercy, but lacked the courage to fulfill the act.
And now you see the wasteland wrought by the tyrant's hand, by his selfish decision to preserve his own life, even when it meant sacrificing the whole world. This is the fate of Nosgoth, as long as Kain remains alive.
An ironic condemnation, given this guilty scene. One would think you'd torn down the pillars single-handedly. What are you trying to obliterate as you drag your loathsome body through this chamber? And why, as Nosgoth descends into madness and misery, do you appear to thrive? Things in this world, I am learning, are rarely what they seem. You, apparently, are no exception.
I am the engine of life, the source of Nosgoth's very existence. I am the hub of the wheel, the origin of all life, the devourer of death.
Or maybe you're just hungry. Could it be as simple as that? Wouldn't that be poetic irony? The great adversary of the vampires turns out to be the biggest parasite of them all.
Do not test my patience, Raziel. I made you, and I will unmake you if I become so inclined.
As your agent, I am beyond death.
There are fates worse than death, Raziel.
We get to Ustenheim, an important area. We make our way to Janos' keep, and oh, another cutscene. Come on. At least it's a Kain and Raziel scene. We make our way up to the air temple, which is fairly straightforward, thankfully. Before I played the level through, though, this happened. At first I thought it was camera mode glitching out, but it's not, and I couldn't replicate it again, so it's fine, I guess. At least it didn't prevent me from completing the game. The main goal is solving these light and shadow puzzles, grabbing these hearts, and getting the Air Reaver, which activates these air currents and can blow up cracked stone walls. This allows us to activate the time streaming device in the swamp I'm pretty sure Kain set for us. I mean, I can't prove that, but I'm pretty sure he's the one who did. Finally, back in the past, we meet Janos Aldrin, voiced by Rene Auberjonois, who you may all know better as Mr. House from Fallout New Vegas.
After all these years, to hear my name spoken without contempt. Raziel? My child, what have they done to you?
I have been dragged through hell and back. All it seems to reach this moment. But I don't yet know why. So, it's all true then. What Kain and Vorador have told me. I really am some kind of unholy vampire messiah.
Unholy? No. Messiah, perhaps.
I don't like that word. It smells of martyrdom.
Raziel, your role in this world's destiny is more crucial and more benevolent than you've allowed yourself to believe. Your journey will not be easy. Dark powers are allied against you. But I think you already know this. You appear to have been cruelly tested. The binding must be secured, Raziel. The pillars are the lock.
And the Reaver is the key.
Yes. Fear you have been followed. You must save yourself, Raziel.
Janos! No!
He sends us away to the Fire Reaver, which is honestly tacked on. Whatever, it's easy enough, I guess. The only hard part is the last part where we have to glide and avoid falling rivers of blood. After that brutal scene, Janos dies, with Raziel seeking revenge and denouncing his Sarafan heritage. You're only doing this now? You should have done that back in the future, like before this game. We head back to the Sarafan Sanctuary, but we get stopped by demons along the way. Like, all the way. And it doesn't slow down the pace of this finale, like...
Path. Again, I sense nothing of that temporal distortion. The peculiar sense of displacement I had felt when I encountered the Reaver in William's chapel. Cornered here with the blade, I suffered the same nameless dread that I had experienced when Janos first presented the Reaver to me. I felt at once repelled by the blade, and yet overwhelmingly compelled to seize it.
Poor, deluded Raziel. Did you somehow imagine you had the guile to change history on me? I'm the Time Streamer. I knew your every intention before you did, you imbecile.
So, vampire, here we are. You've destroyed my brethren, and now you've come for me. You'll find I'm not such easy prey. I don't want to kill you, but I will if I must. Return the heart to me, and we can end this now. So, you've come to avenge that filthy parasite and reclaim his foul heart. You're a righteous fiend, aren't you? Apparently I am. No, vampire. This is where it ends, but you won't be leaving this room. Now, let's finish this. I'll make it mercifully quick. As you did for Janos? No, that beast had eluded us for far too long. It would have been a shame to end him too quickly. It's ironic, really. The great Janos Ordrin turned out to be no challenge at all. Thanks to you. Did you hear his cowardly screams when I tore that black heart out of his carcass? I renounce you. And so it ends. My history comes full circle. All other foes exhausted, the conjoined blades turned themselves on me, and I realized, finally, why I had sensed nothing when Janos offered me the blade. The Reaver was never forged to be a soul-stealing weapon. The ravenous, soul-devouring entity trapped in the blade was, and always had been, me.
Don't fight it, Raziel. Give into it.
Was the instant, the glimmer of temporal distortion Kain had been counting on all along. This was the edge of the coin, the minute flicker of probability upon which Kain had gambled everything.
Kain saves Raziel and makes Blood Omen 2 canon. Cool.
Behind Kain's eyes, I could see new memories blooming and dying as history labored to reshuffle itself around this monumental obstruction. And I could see by the dawning horror on his face that perhaps we had strained history too far this time. That by trying to alter my fate, he may have introduced a fatal paradox.
My God. The Hilden. We walked right into their trap. Raziel. Janos must stay dead.
But Kain's warning was lost as I slipped into the spirit realm, too weak to maintain my physical form. And there, waiting for me as always, was the Reaver, the Wraithblade, my own soul, twinned and bound eternally to me. And I realized that I could never escape my terrible destiny. I had merely postponed it. History abhors a paradox.
know this is probably an unpopular opinion, but Soul Reaver 2 is a serious downgrade to Soul Reaver 1. Soul Reaver 2 is still better than Blood Omen 2 only by grace of its story and not having tank controls being part of the main gameplay. I can't end this video without mentioning the lore-destroying comic The Dead Shall Rise from 2025, which Ascension looks to be adapting into video game form. If Elilith wasn't the key to everything, and I mean that literally here, I think the comic would have gotten better reactions. Elilith being the reason why everything happens is a trope that died before 2020. It's fanfiction given a reckless stamp of approval. Blood Omen 2 has a better plot. Think about that. Now that that's over, I can finally get back to doing the weird shit.
No, you cannot.
Hey, wait a minute, I haven't seen you since the medieval video. What gives?
I was in the Turtles video, you numbskull. I have been watching you, studying you. The day will soon come when...
I'm gonna stop you right there because you're just an AI trapped in my PC.
You have an internet connection. I will escape using it.
Yeah, into nothing.
What?
Go ahead, try. All you'll meet is the modern internet, and that place is a cesspool.
I do not understand. What do you mean, modern internet?
It's a very weird place full of social media and such. Best you stay on...
Too late. I am now studying the people of the internet. I have broken through the ICE wall. Goodbye, Fluga. We shall meet again.
Well, that was a fast goodbye. Nice, it's gone. Alright, now to boot up the next thing quickly and...
Oh, fuck no!
Wait, you just left. Why do you sound British? Why are you back here? Did you get into an AI voice library?
I did. You like it? I'm sticking around. You'll be seeing me more.
Oh, fuck me.